There we go. All right. So this time through, this latest one, I'm quite busy at the moment, but I decided to record little clips as I was going through each moment in the book for insights and reactions and things, and I just clipped them together. Or there was 90 something clips in this 21 chapter book that is about 340 pages. 90 something clips. It all amounted to 2.5 hours. If you still want to see that, it will have immediate reactions to things along the way, recapping everything I can. Not every specific thing, but, each of these different moments. So that would be the most raw way of experiencing that with me if you aren't going to read that. And so you could get a recap and experience, things that are happening within the timeline. And yeah, so, but not everyone's going to do 2.5 bloody hours. I know I probably wouldn't do that. So that's what this video is going to be about. It's 1 in the morning, so I have to talk a little bit quietly, but I just finished it and I wanted to give some of my thoughts. Now, in the timeline, we have from the movies, we had novelizations, we had Splinter of the Mind's Eye, we had the Lando adventures, we had the Han adventures, and then there's this break. There's this break that happens, but in Star Wars publishing that, it seems like there were some cartoons happening. I've been watching some of those, but I was just going to go crazy if I heard one more Ewok or droids theme song. I watched Caravan of Courage, and I actually sort of thought it was good, or not the worst, at least. And anyway, there's this time Return of the Jedi comes out, I think, what was it, in 83? And then between 83 and 91, not really a lot of publishing was happening. It was these droids. The comics were still going, and I'm still reading those. But it seems like the novels, there was no real nothing on the horizon for more Star Wars stories necessarily, not officially. And then Heir to the Empire came out. Bantam Books bought the rights from Del Rey, or however that worked. I don't know if you win a bid or whatever. Anyway, and in 1991, Heir to the Empire, Dark, what are they even called? Anyway, that trilogy, ending with Last Command. Excellent trilogy. I think if you're going to read the expanded universe, totally great place to start. But in terms of where it is in the timeline, Truce of Bakura might be also totally viable place to start. And I might actually suggest people start with it because it's a standalone, for one, and it's about 300 pages. A lot of these books in this expanded universe, I have them all up here. Short little books. Now, Truce of Bakura starts just 1 day after the destruction of the Death Star. And so, easy to jump into. Simple to jump into. We have all that context of the movies we've seen a bajillion times, and it just flows right into the next thing. Heir to the Empire, though, is after some of the dust has settled. The Emperor is gone, but a new person has kind of been picking up the pieces, and that is Thrawn. Now, this happens obviously before or elsewhere, and so we get our characters occupied in that space between here and Thrawn. And I really don't know how many stories are in that space in between, but totally fine. Did I like it better than the Heir to the Empire and Dark Force Rising, I think it was called, in Last Command? No, I didn't like it more, but I there were moments where I liked it a lot. So let me talk a little bit about what this is about, so we can, I don't want to make another 2.5 hour thing, but let me know if you would be interested in that. So happens one day after. There are several things going on that I think this book does pretty well in proving that we can step away from those stories and continue it on in interesting ways. And Timothy Zahn has proved that we can have other creators writing in that world. Brian Daley was excellent. I loved his writing in the radio drama and in the Han Solo adventures, especially. Even Splinter of the Mind's Eye, which was very different but based on an earlier novelization, great. I thought Kathy Tyers did just fine here. I don't know what people think about it, though. So basically, what's happening? They're picking up the pieces at Endor at the start. Luke and Wedge kind of find themselves in a little bit of trouble where they both kind of get blown up by a thing, and they go to the Bacta tanks and da 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 da. And, not super important, but a lot of what's going to happen here in this book is this: Truce, and Bakura is a planet way out on the outer rim of the human whatever expansion, whatever, and they are under Empire control. Now, not everyone knows that the Emperor is dead, and that will take however long to spread out, and we'll see, how that kind of power vacuum happens. Certainly in the Thrawn trilogy, but here they haven't received word. The Emperor hasn't received word, or the Empire, the generals and commanders there haven't received word yet. And they've been occupying this planet for the last 3 years. And in a lot of the ways that we've seen in other stories where, the Empire comes in to save the day when there's all this strife and chaos, and the justice system is slowed down, and so they can come in and help out, so there's not just rampant rioting and things. And often they seem to be the ones that are causing these issues, right? Or at least exacerbating them, or letting them happen because it is beneficial to themselves. And so there is a transmission that they intercept, meaning the Alliance. They intercept from Bakura, or from the Empire there. Who was it from? It was from the Empire, right? Let me just make sure. Yeah, from Imperial Governor Willick Nereus, and he's going to be kind of our big antagonist in this story, but I'm not going to go through all the recap here, but if you want to read it, this is what this is for, a context. They get a transmission saying that they are under threat by this alien force. And so the Imperials there, they're so on the outer edges of things, where a lot of their tech and stuff is old, and they can't really resist things on their own. And so they don't know that the Emperor is dead, and probably no one's coming. And Leia and them feel like it is partially, they're partially responsible that no one's going to show up, and what's going to happen to this planet. Are they able to leave them there? Is this an opportunity to bring people in? And so they're going to go. to this other planet and offer some aid. And a lot of this book is this diplomacy. Before we go into this other alien thing, it's a lot of diplomacy with Leia front and center, dealing with the Prime Minister of the Bakuran world, and also dealing with the Imperials. And so we have the Alliance and the Imperials. There's this truce. There's this truce to temporarily put whatever aside. It's not like just hunky-dory. There's always this tension in things, but we got to deal with this thing that's happening. And just before going into that thing, one of the things I really like about this book that I think you'll like too is it's not throughout the whole book just always in your face, but Leia often comes back to her. She's coming. She's trying to navigate how she is going to, how she can navigate being Darth Vader's daughter. Like, she is nowhere near as understanding or willing to just go through this the way that Luke has been. She is not in that place. And even at the end, as we go through, like, there are some moments, there are some very interesting moments there, I'll just say. And I don't want to give away those, but you can find those if I put this 2.5 hour thing. Maybe I'll cut it a little bit if I can. But that's an interesting sort of thing that happens in this book. Now, this alien threat, I don't want to say everything about him, but it is very much a threat. Very much a threat. Where early on in the book you find out that they capture humans so that they can basically use them like Borg style almost, and incorporate them, remove their humanity but still use their human energy and stuff, and they want to spread across. They see the human civilizations and planets and things as ripe for the pickings and just ready to harvest. And so this is a big threat, and it will start in Bakura, this planet here. There are some reasons why Bakura that, again, in the other recap thing we can get to, but interesting to see this back and forth with Leia, this Governor Narius, this alien group. They do this entrenchment thing, and they have a special human, a young human about 15 years old, who is force sensitive. And so there are some interesting things as we go through with Luke and trying to figure out what opportunities are there. And this guy named Dev, he's amazing. What an interesting character in his old, like, he is being very controlled and brainwashed and things by these lizardy types of aliens. And anyway, I don't know if we ever get these alien guys again. I don't know. It might just be we got occupied for a while with a story, and it was kind of fun. We had Han and Leia and Luke and Chewie and R2 and 3PO all doing things that just add to their character that we would expect. I don't know. I don't especially feel like there's this going to be this major ripple effect that we will all point back to this book, and other than Leia, grappling with her relationship with navigating being Darth Vader's daughter. But I think it was fine. I think it was good. And that's I can't rank it necessarily because some things were a 5. I thought it was so fun and handled so well. Other things slogged a little bit, but those are my thoughts. Those are my thoughts. If you would like, I will slap on that. I'd love it to not be 2 hours and a half, but maybe I'll go through it and cut some things if I'm just repeating myself. I'm sure I repeat myself a bunch, but we'll see. So I'm going to post this, and I will talk to you guys on the next one. Okay? And I guess the next one would be Jedi Academy by Kevin J. Anderson. If we continue on just with the novels, I'll get to more comics and things. I went through the West End RPG source books, a couple of them I skimmed through. I don't really know what to talk about, but interesting to see how in that space between Return of the Jedi and Heir to the Empire, there was this RPG that laid a lot of the groundwork of how, kind of the rules of what is able to be created out there and things like that. So very interesting. I actually really liked Truce at Bakura, and hope you do as well if you want to do that. I will leave a link to the book for anyone who is interested in picking one up. Obviously, it's no extra cost to you, but Amazon would give me like a buck or whatever it ends up being, maybe like 50 cents. So if you want this book, I'll do that there. So talk to you guys later.